Buddhadhamma, Section 3, The Process of Life, Chapter 5, Law of Karma, page 439. The following sutra passage contains the questions and answer sections from King Pasenati and Kosala and Venerable Ananda on the meaning of good and evil. Here, Ananda links the various criteria mentioned above. Venerable Sir, we do not recognize anything of value in praise and blame of others spoken by foolish, arrogant persons who speak without having investigated and evaluated. But we recognize as valuable in praise and blame of others spoken by wise, intelligent, and sagacious persons who speak after having investigated and evaluated. Now, Venerable Ananda, what kind of bodily behavior, verbal behavior, and mental behavior is censured by wise recluse and Brahmins? Any bodily, verbally, mental behavior that is unwholesome, great king. What kind of bodily, verbal, mental behavior is unwholesome? Any bodily, verbal, mental behavior that is harmful. Now, what kind of bodily, verbal, mental behavior is harmful? Any bodily, verbal, or mental behavior that is oppressive. Now, what kind of bodily, verbal, mental behavior is oppressive? Any bodily, verbal, mental behavior that leads to dukkha. And what kind of bodily, verbal, mental behavior leads to dukkha? Any bodily, verbal, or mental behavior that leads to one's own affliction, or to the affliction of others, or to the affliction of both, and on account of which unwholesome states increase and wholesome states diminish. Precisely such bodily, verbally, mental behavior is censured by wise recluse and Brahmins, great king. Venerable Ananda then replies to the question pertaining to wholesome, ending with this passage. Any bodily, verbal, or mental behavior that does not lead to one's own affliction, or to the affliction of others, or to the affliction on both, and on account of which wholesome states diminish, the wholesome states increase. Precisely such bodily, verbal, mental behavior, great king, is uncensured by wise recluse and Brahmins. One inflamed by lust, overcome by lust, with mind enthralled by it, intends for his own affliction, for the affliction of others, and for the affliction of both. He experienced mental anguish and dukkha. When lust is abandoned, he does not intend for his own affliction, for the affliction of others, and for the affliction of both, and he does not experience mental anguish and dukkha. One inflamed by lust, overcome by lust, with mind enthralled by it, engages in misconduct by body, by speech, and mind. But when lust is abandoned, one does not engage in misconduct by body, speech, and mind. One inflamed by lust, overcome by lust, with mind enthralled by it, does not understand that it really is his own good, the good of others and the good of both. But when lust abandoned on one understands as it really is one's own good, the good of others and the good of both. One full of hate, overcome by hate, one deluded, overcome by delusion, experience mental anguish and dukkha. But when delusion is abandoned and one understands it as it really is one's own good, the good of others and the good of both. A deed is not well done when after having done it, one is distressed. And when weeping with tearful face, one reaps its fruit. A deed is well done when after doing it, one is not distressed. And when pleased and delighted, one reaps its fruit. Whatever action is performed is visible within oneself. Verily, an evil deed committed does not immediately bear fruit, just as a fresh milk curdles, not at once. Smothering, it follows the full, like the fire covered with ashes. Whoever acted wrongly before, but is trained and turns to the good, such a one illuminates this world like the moon freed from clouds. The meritorious deeds one has done, that is one's friend in the future. Ananda, I have declared definitely that deeds of bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, and mental misconduct are not to be done, because in acting thus these dangers are too expected. One blames oneself. The wise, having investigated, censures one. A bad report circulates about one. One dies confused. With the breakup of the body after death, one is reborn in the plane of misery, in a bad destination, in the lower world, in the realm of hell. Ananda, I have declared definitely that deeds of bodily good conduct, verbal good conduct, and mental good conduct are to be done, because it is in acting thus these blessings are to be expected. One does not blame oneself. The wise, having investigated, praise one. A good reputation circulates about one. One dies unconfused. And with the break of the body after death, one is reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly destination. Monks, abandon the unwholesome. It is possible to abandon the unwholesome. If it were not possible to abandon the unwholesome, I would not say, monks, abandon the unwholesome. But because it is possible to abandon the unwholesome, I say, monks, abandon the unwholesome. If abandoning the unwholesome lead to harm and dukkha, I would not tell you to abandon it. But because abandoning of the unwholesome leads to the welfare and happiness, I say, monks, abandon the unwholesome. Monks, develop the wholesome. It is possible to develop the wholesome. If it were not possible to develop the wholesome, I would not say, monks, develop the wholesome. But because it is possible to develop the wholesome, I say, monks, develop the wholesome. If developing the wholesome leads to harm and dukkha, I would not tell you to develop it. But because the developing of the wholesome leads to welfare and happiness, I say, monks, develop the wholesome. Monks, there are things to be abandoned by body, by speech. There are things to be abandoned by speech, not by body. There are things to be abandoned neither by body nor by speech, but by having clearly seen with panya, with wisdom and discernment. What are these things to be abandoned by body and by speech? Here a monk has committed a particular unwholesome transgression with the body. His fellow monks investigate him and say thus, you have committed a particular unwholesome transgression with the body. It'd be really good for you if you would abandon bodily misconduct, develop bodily good conduct. When this wise fellow monks investigate him and admonish him, he abandons bodily misconduct and develops bodily good conduct. These are called things to be abandoned by body and by speech. And what are things to be abandoned by speech, not by body? Here a monk has committed a particular unwholesome transgression by speech. His fellow monks investigate him and say thus, you have committed a particular unwholesome transgression by speech. It would be really good if you would have abandoned misconduct or verbal misconduct and develop verbal good conduct. When his fellow monks investigate him and admonish him, he abandons verbal misconduct and develops verbal good conduct. These are called things to be abandoned by speech, not by body. What are things to be abandoned by neither by body nor by speech, but having clearly seen them with wisdom? Greed, hatred, and delusion, anger, hostility, contempt, arrogance is to be abandoned neither by body nor by speech, but having clearly seen with wisdom.